Welcome back. I'm here with Glen Wagstaff, founder and managing partner of Vivos, PLLC. Glen, during the break, we were talking about the American dream. People own businesses all over the country. What can estate planning do to help protect a business owner?
Well, it's the age-old question as a business owner, what happens to my business if something happens to me, right? And if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have the right corporate documents or you haven't addressed business succession in those documents, then there's a risk that you could find yourself in business with someone that you didn't intend to, like your partner's spouse. You could have court problems. There might be somebody who doesn't have the ability to make payroll or to be able to make decisions on behalf of the company. And so all of those risks make it for an uncertain situation as a business owner of what would happen with everything that you've built up over years, possibly, if something were to happen to you. And that's what we try to address in planning.
Okay. Now, there's always risk involved in business. Sure. What is the worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario would be without any plan, things get caught up in a court process and it could take months to resolve. And even if it's just a couple months, as we know in business, accounts could be lost, clients could be lost, all the goodwill that's built over years could dissipate, and the business could be sold at a fire sale or lost altogether. So worst case scenario, there's a lot of horror stories, but we can avoid all of that if we do some proactive planning. Unfortunately, a lot of business owners go the route of creating their business on their own without legal representation, without advice, and sometimes they don't address these things, and maybe it's the last thing that they think of. Most of the time, unfortunately, when a crisis hits, it's maybe the first time that they've thought of it.
Right. So the thing that they value the most is lost because they didn't think ahead.
Sure. It's possible, and we've seen that happen.
All right. Now, how do you prepare and prevent those kinds of nightmare scenarios?
We always address 5 things when we sit down and do a business succession plan, really. We call them the 5 Ds. So we want to address the risk of a potential divorce if there's partners in the business, and what happens to your interest in that scenario. You don't want to be in business with your partner's ex-spouse, right? That's going to be a bad situation all around. Sure. So divorce, death, incapacity. We want to address the risk of disability, where maybe one of the business owners can't continue working, but we want to address how they get the value out of their interest in the business. And for public companies, it might be fairly straightforward, where you have stocks and those can be sold and so on. But especially for privately held companies, a business succession plan is critical.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing.